You are now listening to Wave A Sound.
Welcome to Versus Mike History, the #1 platform for empowering black creatives. I am your host, Michael History. In episode 90, we discuss marijuana being decriminalized on a federal level, Will Smith resigning from the academy, the formation of the first Amazon Workers Union, and more. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you choose to listen. And for premier access to Versus Mike History content, join our members-only subscription tier on versusmikehistory.com.
We say to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. And so just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Peace, family. We are back for another one. It's your boy, Mike History behind the mic. I'm happy to be back. It is episode 90. We got 10 more before we hit the big 100. It's been a very, very wild journey thus far. I appreciate you guys taking this ride with me. Shout out to all the first-time listeners. Shout out to everybody who's been riding with me since the beginning. It's crazy. It's just crazy in general. I have an episode ahead of us today. You know, a lot has happened since I recorded last. The Grammys and Oscars both aired. And, you know, everything that came with them has to be discussed. Or at least will be. I'm over here on the East Coast. You know, the weather is clearing up. We're getting like mid to high 50s. Up here in the tri-state area. Shout out to everybody everywhere else. You know, if you're getting good weather all year round, I'm jealous of you because I'm really waiting for that good weather this year, man, especially. Things are opening back up. You know, artists are going back on tour. It seems like everybody's doing a rollout. So, you know, things are on the up and up. I'm excited for what's to come. I'm looking to connect with more creatives online and within the community alike. And, you know, just looking to do more with my platform. That's always been the goal, to do as much as I possibly can. You reaching newer heights and, trying to accomplish new goals. I'm feeling fine health wise. My family is good. And, I have some personal goals that I'm working on. But outside of that, life is good. And I hope that you guys are doing well also. I hope everybody's doing what they can to stay safe, as I usually say. And, just be aware of, all the pitfalls that are out here. I don't want to get into too many specific details about, my personal opinions about certain things going on in the world, but, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I implore everybody to do their own research on whatever topic that they choose to, spend their time on. It's kind of a crazy world we're living in right now. But all in all, I do have an episode ahead of us that I need to get into, so I'm going to stop blabbering and get started. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, guys, as always, I got to lead with love, and I wanted to try something new with this segment by reading off positive tweets instead of trying to come up with specific shout outs. So this week I have one from Poems Heaven, and it's, "Hello, April. May this month bless us with good news, positivity, and blessings." So, I found that by just looking up keywords like positivity, love, happiness, and all of that good stuff. And, I'm not really set on how I want to go about structuring this segment. But I do know I want to structure it with like reading out positive tweets. So hopefully you guys can help me out by sending in positive tweets that I can read out, or positive shout outs, or anything of that nature that would, go here. That would be super dope. So any type of black love that you guys want to share with me, go ahead and send that into the show. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into our news for the week. And first up, I have from CNN Politics that House passes bill to federally decriminalize marijuana. The House has voted with a slim bipartisan majority to federally decriminalize marijuana. The vote was 220 to 204. Republicans Tom McClintock of California, Brian Mast, and Matt Gaetz, both of Florida, joined the majority of Democrats in supporting the bill, while Democrats Henry Keeler of Texas and Chris Pappas of New Hampshire voted against. The bill, sponsored by Democratic Rep. Jerry Nadler of New York, will prevent federal agencies from denying federal worker security clearances for cannabis use, and will allow Veterans Administration to recommend medical marijuana to veterans living with post-traumatic stress disorder, plus gains revenue by authorizing a sales tax on marijuana sales. That last part is really what's most important for decriminalizing marijuana, because if the United States government can't make money off of it, then why is it legal? So that's just another step forward in the right direction for legalized marijuana in the United States. We have a lot of lobbying from big tobacco to stop that from happening, but thankfully we are finally in the era where we see that, not only does this not cause any harm to the human body, but it also can bring in all types of revenue for at the state level and on the federal level. So shout out to everybody who can go ahead and begin the process of getting their records expunged, and all the people who, won't be seeing a jail cell because they wanted to make a little bit of money off of something that grows from the ground. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and move on. Okay, next up I have from Black Enterprise that Will Smith resigns his membership from the Academy after slapping Chris Rock. Man, that is a headline that I thought that I'd never hear in all of my life. So, Will Smith is making amends, and on Friday announced that he will resign from the Academy following his shocking act of violence slapping Chris Rock at the 94th Annual Academy Awards. His statement reads in full: "I have directly responded to the Academy's disciplinary hearing notice, and I will fully accept any and all consequences for my conduct. My actions at the 94th Academy Awards presentation were shocking, painful, and inexcusable. The list of those that I have hurt is long and includes Chris, his family, and many of my dear friends and loved ones, all of those in attendance and global audiences at home. I betrayed the trust of the Academy. I deprived other nominees and winners of their opportunity to celebrate, and I celebrated for their extraordinary work. I am heartbroken. I want to put the focus back on those who deserve attention for their achievements and allow the Academy to get back to the incredible work it does to support creativity and artistry in film. So I am resigning from membership in the Academy Motion Picture of Art and Sciences and will accept any further consequences the board deems appropriate. Change takes time, and I am committed to doing the work to ensure I never again allow violence to overtake reason. And that's all I'll read on that. You know, the Academy Awards felt like ages ago, to be perfectly honest, but it was only a week. Since then, we've gotten so many think pieces and opinions from people who were not directly involved in any type of way. We've gotten opinions from people who aren't black on the case, even though the incident involved 2 black men. And we've gotten cases of, comedians making it about their profession and not about, a man's loss of temper and, poor judgment in real time. And, based off of the reactions that we've gotten from everything that's surrounded this event, Will Smith having a director pull out of a film that he had in production with Netflix, and the Bad Boys 4 production being put on pause because of this, and all of these things, and people trying to send a message about what's not okay in Hollywood. I think that we're using an instance of poor judgment as an example of something that, doesn't necessarily exist in the space, which is, like violence against comedians and, barbaricness and all of these racist undertones that all of these comments surrounding the incident have. And I really wish that people would just take a second, to reflect on, everything that Will Smith went through in the past 2 years surrounding all of the business that has been, been privy to the public eye. And not, I don't want to use my platform to excuse what he did, but I definitely understand. And I feel like as adults, we should all have an understanding of somebody who makes a poor decision in real time and, them trying to make amends for it while not trying to beat somebody while they're down. So I wanted to share that. Those are my 2 cents, and I'll go ahead and keep it pushing. All right, so this news is a bit more fresh, and I'm getting this from page 6. Kanye West drops out of Coachella less than 2 weeks before festival begins. Kanye West has dropped out of Coachella as he seeks treatment following his online tirades against ex-wife Kim Kardashian. Page 6 can confirm. Source tells us that billionaire rapper, now known as Ye, has dropped out of the lineup for the California Festival, which takes place over 2 weekends in Indio. It was planned that he would be joined on stage by Travis Scott, but we're told neither will appear. Rumors in the music business are swirling that the weekend may replace Kanye as the headliner. A source told us Kanye has definitely pulled out of Coachella. He hasn't been rehearsing or putting on a production. Travis Scott was supposed to be joining him on stage. Now it would be virtually impossible for him to get it together. Look for the weekend to replace him. Can't say I'm not disappointed because, whenever we get a major Kanye performance, we always get a lot of effort put into that. So it is unfortunate, but, all the behavior surrounding all of the social media antics that have been plaguing Kanye West for the past few months definitely warrant him to take some time to reflect on his mental health and how, he reacts to the world around him. So if it comes down to a man seeking, healing for a better mind to create in the future and to continue, inspiring people moving forward, then I completely respect his opinion to not perform. And, it would have been dope to see Travis come back out and, redeem himself from everything that surrounded the Astroworld Festival. But, clearly now is not the time for that to happen. So it is what it is. And, I think we should just accept it as it is and move forward. I'm personally not, I don't have any personal feelings about The Weeknd replacing him. His music as of lately hasn't been a personal favorite of mine, but, it makes sense. And shout out to black artists headlining Coachella. Like, that's what it's about anyway. So, yeah. All right, and here's some good news for you. Amazon warehouse workers in New York make history voting for a union. Here's what could happen next. And I'm getting this from CNN, so bear with me. After Christian Smalls was fired 2 years ago from an Amazon warehouse in New York City following his participation in a walkout over its pandemic response, an executive at the company suggested undercutting his organizing efforts by painting him as, quote unquote, not smart or articulate. When Smalls' newly established organization garnered enough interest to hold a union election at that facility this year, a spokesperson for the tech giant initially cast doubt on the legitimacy of the signatures indicating support. When the election went forward, Amazon engaged in a full-blown campaign to combat the union drive, including text messages, signage, and required group meetings to convey its anti-union messages to workers. But on Friday, the results of that election showed that employees at the Staten Island, New York facility voting overwhelmingly in favor of unionizing with Amazon Labor Union, the grassroots labor organization started by Smalls and other current and former Amazon employees of the facility. The move marks the first time a group of U.S. workers have successfully voted to form a union in Amazon's 27-year history. Shout out to Mr. Smalls on his historic achievement. Christian Smalls will definitely be a major figure in New York moving forward, having unionized Amazon's Staten Island facility. It's amazing to see and to hear because, we've heard many discouraging things and disparaging things within our community about how people are treated in specific warehouses at specific companies. And to hear that people are finally starting to stand up for the treatment that they know that they deserve working at these companies with unfair treatment, then, it's always heartwarming to hear that people are finally taking a stand for the things that they believe in. This is what we need, and it's the American spirit, in my personal opinion. So shout out to Christian Smalls, shout out to the Amazon Labor Union, and hopefully we see positive things from this moving forward. And finally, let's get into Grammy night. So the Grammys air on Sunday night, and I have the list of winners here, or at least the winners that we care about. So album of the year went to Jon Batiste, We Are. You know what? I'm going to be perfectly honest and transparent right now. I do not know who Jon Batiste is, and I did not hear this album. But the fact that a black man won album of the year is extremely intriguing when I haven't heard of the artist and I haven't heard the album. So it's definitely going to make me spin the block and go listen to this project to really immerse myself in why he won. I don't doubt that he did an amazing job on this project, but more than anything, I'm curious currently because I haven't heard it. So congratulations to him. Record of the year went to Silk Sonic with Leave the Door Open. Shout out to Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars, man. First of all, like I read in an article earlier, the Academy loves Bruno Mars. The last time Bruno Mars was at the Grammys for a project, he cleaned up nice. He cleaned up very nice for 24K Magic. And this year was no different. What you could say that him and Anderson .Paak did was a clean sweep. But let's move forward in these winning categories. So for best pop duo / group performance, we have Doja Cat featuring SZA with "Kiss Me More." Best R&B album went to Jasmine Sullivan with "Hotels." Best rap performance went to Baby Keem featuring Kendrick Lamar, "Family Ties." Best new artist went to Olivia Rodrigo. Song of the year went to Silk Sonic, "Leave the Door Open." Best jazz vocal album went to Esperanza Spalding with songwriters Apothecary Lab. Best rap album went to Tyler the Creator, "Call Me If You Get Lost." Best rap song went to Kanye West featuring Jay-Z, "Jail." Best melodic rap performance went to Kanye West featuring The Weeknd and Lil Baby with "Hurricane." I actually really like that song, so I'm actually glad that won. Best progressive R&B album went to Lucky Day, "Table for Two." Best R&B song went to Silk Sonic, "Leave the Door Open." Best traditional R&B performance went to her, "Fight for You." Best R&B performance went to Silk Sonic, "Leave the Door Open," and Jasmine Sullivan, "Pick Up Your Feelings." And that's all I have for you guys. So shout out to all the winners, and let's go ahead and keep it pushing. All right, I got a quick word of mouth because, I kind of said everything I needed to say about the Oscars back in the Will Smith segment. But I did want to give a shout out to Will Packer and to Questlove. I wanted to give a shout out to Will Packer for producing the Academy Awards this year. I didn't actually watch them, but for a black man to be able to produce the Academy Awards is a phenomenal feat, seeing as we get locked out of a lot of major things, even within the show still. So I wanted to put that on display, and I wanted to shout out Questlove on his first Academy Award win for Summer of Soul. It's not every day that a black man wins the Academy Award for a documentary, and then for a week later to win a Grammy for that same documentary. So shout out to him because he's been having a great week. And yeah. All right, let's go ahead and get into some new music. So to be perfectly honest, I did listen to a lot of music this week, so don't attack me. But there weren't a lot of projects. So I know that Pete Rock dropped Pete Instrumentals 4. I had that on repeat for a little bit. We got the Dreamville and J. Cole mixtape with DJ Drama called D-Day. We got Molly Smith with Rockstar that came out, and yeah, that's pretty much it. That is pretty much it. There were a good amount of singles that did drop though, so I'm gonna go through this list really quickly. We got A Boogie with the Hoodie featuring her called Playa. We got Toro Imoy with Deja Vu. We got the boy Dame, ESTG, and Rick Ross with Feelings. I really like that record. We got Freddie Gibbs and Rick Ross with Ice Cream. I like that record too. We got Clay Crucial, Perry the Third, and G Herbo with Wafi. We got Vince Staples with Rose Street. We got LMA with Leave You Alone. G Perico and Beast, Half a Bird. I really like that record. I like the LMA song too, actually. And I like the Vince Staples song. Gucci Mane, Key Glock, and Young Dolph, Blood All on It. I like that record. Kalani and Justin Bieber, Up All Night. Not a fan. John Legend releases Free. I didn't hear that record. Everybody's Shooters 2, 42 Doug, and ESTG. I think I heard it, but I don't really remember it. And 100 Chicago's Lupe Fiasco. That's probably my favorite song from all of this that dropped this week. That'll definitely be their sound selection for the week. And Lil TJ, In My Head. So shout out to everybody that dropped because it's been a whole bunch of people. All right, let's go ahead and get into television, movies, and trailers. And I'll start with trailers because we're supposed to be getting the Thor Love and Thunder trailer very, very soon. And I'm very excited for Thor 4, you know? Very excited to see which direction we see this character going, especially after Endgame. And we have so much other things going on in the MCU that it's like so crazy that we were expecting another trailer so soon. This might be another knockout year for Marvel, to be perfectly honest, because, you know, we got No Way Home in December, we're getting Doctor Strange, then we're getting Thor, and then Black Panther. Very much so. All of these films might do $1 billion at the box office based off of their last entries or where we saw these characters last. So very exciting things there. The Top Gun Maverick trailer released last week. That was really cool. Makes me want to go see that movie. Makes me feel like a kid again. We got some new TV spots for Ms. Marvel, for Moon Knight, and for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness that are, you know, a little misleading, but I'll leave that to the comic guys. And yeah, that's about it with trailers. In terms of television, I've been watching Snowfall. I've been going back and forth about how I feel about this season. Sometimes it seems really good. At other times it seems really weak. Ultimately, by the end of the season, we'll see how it all plays out. But, you know, this show can really only go in one direction at this point. I am also watching Atlanta. Atlanta has been really good this season. Especially that last episode in the billionaire's house. That was really funny. A lot of different moving mechanisms in that episode to make it all come together. Atlanta is always very surprising. So great stuff there. I'm gonna go back and finish Abbott Elementary because I was watching it adamantly, but once everybody else started watching, you know, I slowed down a bit because, you know, I kind of want to cherish that instead of watching it as if it's you know, storyline first and comedy later, because it's definitely comedy first and storyline later. What else do we have? I still have to watch Killing Eve. The season of Bel Air is over, so I'm going to go and watch that in full. And, you know, I've been watching a lot of documentaries lately. I have the Bad Vegan documentary to catch up on. I have the crypto documentary to catch up on. I can't remember the name of it. And, I recently watched the Jared Carmichael comedy special called Rothaniel. Shout out to him for having the courage to come out during his special. I think that was really special and really intimate and really strong of him. But I also am very disappointed to hear how the people closest to him respond to him coming out. Is really disappointing to me because, you know, like, it's something that he clearly held to himself for so long, and now they feel like they've either been betrayed or they can't fully accept that part of him, which is really disappointing because he's made a very successful life and career for himself. So it's just really sad to see that play out like that in his special. But he's brilliant nonetheless, and he makes you laugh along the ride. So everybody go check that out. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. I got to go see Morbius soon. I'm launching a new podcast that focuses on comics, comic book media, and anime. So I'm going to go see Morbius, and I'm going to go talk more in depth about Moon Knight and that first episode because I have watched the first episode of Moon Knight on Disney Plus, and I thought it was really good. But I will not go into detail about it because you will hear about it on another podcast. So thank you guys for staying tuned with me. And as always, send topics, questions, music, and movie suggestions to info@versusmikehistory.com. Follow the podcast on Twitter at VSMikeHistory and on Instagram and the Fanbase app at VersusMikeHistory. Follow me on Twitter at MikeHistory and on Instagram at LastNameHistory. And this week's sound selection comes from Lupe Fiasco, and it is entitled 100 Chicagos. And I will see you beautiful black people at the next episode.